Men say they want traditional women, but don't want to be traditional men.
So this is a part of why the dating shit is fucked up. He says basically men don't want to be traditional men. That's pretty much bullshit. The only aspect of being a man that he's talking about is providing money. So that's what we're going to talk about. Traditional man and money. So if we go back in the time, people had to have trades, families specialized in certain skills that contributed to society in ways to where they were going to get money. That's it. That's what it was way back when. Even if you go to the Middle Ages and stuff like that, the villages just be farming. Think about that. The whole village just farm, and that's how they get the bag. And everybody worked, even the women. Now, when we get to post-industrial revolution, we talking about 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. That pocket. Let's talk about that era and just providing. That 40s to motherfucking 70s pocket. You might even be able to sprinkle a little bit of 80s in there. The first thing is that with the Industrial Revolution, depending on what area you lived in, you could get out of high school and get a job that can provide for a whole family immediately. When it's time for you to really get that money, when it's time for you to get that bread, you do not have to get a fucking CDL. You do not have to go and get a trade. You do not have to go to college if you don't want to. You can go straight over to that factory, and they were going to give you a very healthy, livable wage that you could fucking raise your family off of for the rest of your fucking life, and you could retire from that job. Even if you don't live in a city like Pittsburgh, they had all those union jobs, truck drivers and stuff. And CDLs didn't even exist back then. And they had a bunch of careers like that where dudes could really make money. They had the railroad system and all types of shit. So the main points that I'm making here is that when it came to the jobs of previous eras, the barrier of entry was virtually none. Because you could go and drive a truck without going through this ridiculous CDL course that they have right now, things like that. And the job that you got was not going to just pay a livable wage, but it was going to pay a wage to where you could support a family of like 8 to 10 with that wage. Now, even though they was living in poverty, think about this. Even though they was living in poverty still, black people specifically, they could still put a roof over those kids' head and feed them something and still have the wife stay at home. They could sustain some form of a lifestyle and have a actual house, not a fucking condo, not an apartment, not some shit where a landlord is coming and not a project house. No, an actual fucking house. Think about that shit. Most people in poverty in America right now cannot be homeowners. It is not even in the realm of possibility. But these previous generations, again, with those steel mill jobs, with those railroad track jobs, all that stuff, they owned homes. And the prices of homes weren't as ridiculous as they are now in comparison to the wages. So let's say you don't want to do the blue collar work. You don't want to be a mechanic. You don't want to do no shit like that. Well, the other option would be to go to college. College tuition was very cheap in comparison to what it is now, extremely cheap. And guess what? It was also free. There were some colleges that give you a free fucking education to where you can go and take that fucking degree and then put on a suit and go and get some white collar shit. You wasn't coming out with motherfucking $100,000 worth of debt, $200,000, $300,000. If you think I'm bullshitting about $300,000, go watch some Dave Ramsey where he talking to black women, the most educated demographic, about their college degree debt. The whole point of me saying that is, it was not hard for the average male, the average man, white, black, whatever, to be in a provider position to provide for a family. Let's fast forward for the average man to get into a provider position. He either needs to get a trade. That's an option, but even then, in some cases, you have to pay. You have to pay. In very few cases, they will pay for you. You also have, on the other hand, college. What is the difference between college back then and now? Crazy debt. Don't gotta break that down. You are getting whacked over the fucking head, taking student loans. They are fucking raping you. Just forget about it. So, boom. You know, for you to get a career, you are going to have to get this huge debt that's going to loom over your head for the rest of your fucking life, because the interest rates is fucking crazy, and you're going to have over $100,000 worth of debt if you are getting anything worth anything. You're doing it for your future. It's a whole brainwashing campaign that pretty much set this shit up to where we at now. It's a huge scam. You paying for classes that do not help you with the shit that you need to learn. And even then, the shit that you need to learn should not cost that much. These motherfuckers just be, bruh, they be making hand over fist and just pure profit, like non-taxable income. It's a huge scam. But anyways, so this is the biggest difference between previous eras when we talk about men providing and now. When you look at those, you have to earn the ability to be able to even look for a job. And I'm going to just give you this before I move on. You know, I've seen people get degrees for different majors, you know, zoology, fucking graphic design, etc., etc. And they just end up working at regular jobs that have nothing to do with their degree, and they don't even get in an advantageous position at the jobs that they get. They get an entry-level job, and they got fucking bachelor's degrees. You don't know how many motherfuckers I met with those useless-ass degrees that got debt and be working regular jobs. It's the craziest shit. It's a scam. Now, before I move on, anytime I bring up the fact that college is a scam, people want to bring up STEM degrees and say we need black people in STEM and all this shit. Listen, I don't disagree that we need black people in STEM. We definitely need black people in STEM. That is science, technology, engineering, math, for people who don't understand or don't know. I have to be brief on this point because we have more to cover. But when it comes to STEM, the first thing is the schools, as far as elementary schools, high schools, things of that nature, parents, and society don't pump it into kids' heads that that's what you need to be doing. So that's number one. They don't pump it into people's heads, because even then, those aren't the only lucrative careers. You can become a doctor, which has nothing to do with STEM, and still make a very good living. So that's the first thing. I think a lot of people, as far as the kids, you got to be a fucking fool to think the education system is not failing the majority of people in America. You got to be a fool. And I think one of those failures is not pushing kids and not preparing them and not letting them know, listen, fuck all this other shit we talking about. For the sake of our society, we need y'all to fill these roles. And on top of that, if you don't have one of these roles, you're likely not going to be making money. Because that's the other thing. Like, people go to college to get these careers so that they can get money, not because this is what they're passionate about. Like, cut the bullshit. So that's number one. Number two, I am not anti-education. Let's just get that out the way. If you're becoming a doctor, if you're becoming an engineer, you absolutely need to get the education to do these things. But the last point I'm going to make before we move on is number three. All of that being said, that doesn't mean that college is still not a fucking scam, because it should not cost that much for people to get careers. You should not have to go into crippling debt to get a career. And the truth is, if you try to justify that, if you try to justify the cost, you are brainwashed. That's all it is. If you try to justify the curriculum that they have for these things to where you are taking classes that do not directly help you with your career, but you're paying thousands of dollars to learn about Kendrick fucking rapping from Lupe Fiasco, but you plan on becoming an engineer, and this knowledge is not going to help you at all with your engineering career. If you defend that shit, paying thousands of dollars for that shit, and that being education towards a career, and you getting credits for that, and it being mandatory for you to go and get these useless classes and pay this much, like, you're fucking brainwashed. I can understand it as a means to an end. I can understand this is the way that things are, and you just got to go through it if you want to be on that side. I could understand that. But it's a fucking scam. The other end is, you remember when I said, the Industrial Revolution, you could just go to the steel mill or fucking railroad, whatever industry was big in the area you was in, and get a job that could provide for the family without getting no certification. That shit is dead. During the Trump administration, niggas lost so many jobs from so many manufacturers and stuff like that. And even then, in modern times, those types of jobs, like the car manufacturing jobs, those are hard to get. Those were very hard to get as far as working directly for the company. The jobs that they have out here now, the majority of them are fast food, fucking Walmart ass jobs, like just shit like that. And the truth is, it's a crazy truth. If you don't have no certification, if you don't have no degree, if you don't have nothing that separates you from the masses in the job market, then you are more than likely going to eat shit. They just got shit out here for you, man. That's what it is. Now, to let you know how fucked society is, the two biggest forms of debt amongst citizens within the country, mortgages are number one. Housing loans, so mortgages. Second is student loan debt. Those two industries, doesn't matter what type of American you are, they are fucking most Americans. Raw, no lube, in the ass. And basically what he's saying, he doesn't say this directly, but this is basically the sentiment. And this is a sentiment that society shares. So just brace yourself, get ready for it. If you don't make enough money, you are not a man. Your whole value as a man, your core value to anybody else, is how much you make. That's what it is. Your value as a man is how much you make. You look at, like, I've seen people talk like, oh man, the thing, it's crazy how when you look at Mexicans, the dude could be, working whatever type of job. He could be at a farm. He could be working at Home Depot. He could be doing whatever. He could have 5 kids with his wife and stuff like that. We talking about either in America or Mexico, Mexicans. But, the babe is still going to love him, is still going to submit to him, even if they are, poor and in poverty and shit like that. In her eyes, money does not determine if he's a man or not, at all. But when you talk about the U.S. in general, and you talk about modern women, and especially when you talk about black women, if you're in a long-term relationship, even if you are a lover, there's going to be a point where she looks at you to provide, which I have no problem with that, because that is what a male's role is if we're talking about a family, a traditional family. That's what a male's role is. And when we talk about modern women, especially black women, it boils down to two things nowadays. Number one, if you cannot provide on the level that the older generations used to, meaning pay all the bills, then they don't look at you as a man. If you cannot take care of everything yourself to where they don't have any responsibility, some of them, not all of them, will not look at you as a man. This is the second thing. And we've already went over how that's much harder nowadays and damn near impossible. And fuck the average. Not even the majority of men can live up to that standard in this economy. Now, when we get past that, we go to the second thing. This is where the goalposts with all these boss babes is a constantly moving goalpost. It's a moving goalpost. If you don't make more money than her, you are not a man to her. She does not respect you. You are not a provider. Now, the thing about everything that I'm saying is that I'm not making it up. These are not my beliefs as far as things that I've made up and created. This is rhetoric that you can pick up on out of all the social media posts, out of all the sit-down talk shows that women have and stuff like that, out of all the conversations you have with women or that you've seen women have. It's everywhere. It is all throughout our society. You can see everything that I mentioned building on top of the narratives that I let you know today. So when you look at the myriad of dating problems that are going on now, one of the biggest issues, one of the biggest catalysts to this, it's really twofold. And I'm going to get into the second fold another day. But one of the biggest catalysts is when it comes to men providing or being providers. The barrier to entry into being a provider is higher than it has ever been in the history of any first world modern society. And that alone creates so much dysfunction when it comes to the family unit, dating, and society at large. Now, the other thing, the second catalyst that I didn't get into in this video, that I will definitely cover in another video, is feminism, as far as a lot of different things that happen, but women earning more. Because this is the thing about this. I could sit here and tell you all of this is an issue and that we need to fix it and stuff like that. But the truth is, even if a woman were to hear this, as far as one of the women who subscribe to You're Not a Man If You Don't Make More Than Me, they don't care. They don't care. The Texas Garden Fairies and the Shira Sevens, they say stuff like, well, you have to work to get into that 20% of men that 80% of women want. These women have no empathy for men. They have no understanding. They have no concern, no care. So when it comes down to it, they will even end up not having the type of guy that they want, not being in the type of situation they want, just not having anybody. Because they hold on to these old beliefs and they are not understanding empathy. They just want what they want. And when you have a woman that is making six figures, over 100,000, when 18% of the U.S. population makes over 100,000. So that's not, and we're talking about men and women. 18% make over 100,000. 18, not even 20. To that woman, two things. Number one, most men in general are just not qualified. A woman will hear that and say, oh yeah, because I'm special, because they all think they're special. Even a woman who makes $70,000, she's still going to want a six-figure guy because of the conditioning that has happened and also because of the economy that we live in. But this is the second thing. So the first thing is she doesn't think most men are qualified to date her. But the second thing is she doesn't even think that the majority of men in America are men. Especially in context when it comes to dealing with her or a woman like her that makes this amount of money. And the funny thing about it is, yes, like I mentioned, it's only 18% of people. So it's not a ton of women, just like a tremendous mass of women that are making over 100,000. But the funny thing is, even the chick that's making 70,000, the chick that's making 50,000, they are looking for somebody to come and save them in this economy. That's what they really want. And the funniest thing about it, I'm going to end here. These women don't want to go 50-50. A lot of them don't have an understanding of what's actually happening, but they don't want to have to pay any. They would rather pay 100% of their bills and for their lifestyle than to save some money by having another guy come in and take on some of that load. They would rather do that than combine finances. You know why? Because women talk about all this emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, and women mature faster than men. Listen, they are like children. They are like children. In their mind, what they want is a guy to come in and pay for everything while they still continue to work or while they don't work. And it goes two ways. I'm doing a lot of twos in this video if you didn't know. But it goes one of two ways. Either they don't work, and in this vision where they don't work, they don't really do shit. They don't envision cooking and cleaning and how they not even prepared for that. A lot of them. But they want that life, and they'll just learn through YouTube once they get in that position. That's how they feel. They're not setting themselves up for that life. They just want it. They don't think about what value they would have to provide a man. But this is the other way that it works. The other way that it works is they still continue to work, and your money is their money, and their money is their money. Their money is a fun money. They get to go and just go on shopping sprees for themselves while you take care of all the responsibility. That is the fantasy of the average modern woman, to get saved by somebody and not have to have any responsibility financially. That is how they think. You have to look at it when it comes to consumer spending, meaning just buying bullshit. Women account for 80% of that in America. 80% of consumer spending. 80%. Over 80%. So with that being said, it's so funny because they'll say stuff like, oh yeah, you got to have a woman take care of the finances because what would men do without women are better with money. How? Y'all are responsible for just 80% of the fucking, like, bruh. Y'all blow money and y'all love blowing money. It makes you feel good blowing money on bullshit. It makes you feel good. Shop therapy. But with all of that being said, when you look at all of this, you know, the family unit is pretty doomed in this climate. We are living in the fall of the West. We're living in it right now. Let me know.